Good evening. Good evening. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm alone today, and this is my first time doing a podcast alone, solo. So I'm not sure if this is going to be maybe a shorter episode or a usual length episode. We'll see how much I can talk to myself. Today, we're going to be talking about human energy and auras. I am no expert on this. Um, I just did, some research, looked at some online forums as well, so we can talk about some other people's stories regarding auras and other people's spiritual experiences. This topic was requested by the one and only my mom. So, shout out to my mom. This episode's for you. And yeah, without further ado, I guess let's get into it. Also, before we get into the episode, I wanted to give a trigger warning. I am going to talk about death and suicide in part of this episode, so please listen with care. I'm Annelise, and this is Spirit Static. I hate doing this by myself. Imagine you're out to dinner with a friend. Since you know this friend well, there's room for comfortable silence. You both hear bits and pieces of the conversations around you coming from other tables. It's fun to eavesdrop. You give your friend that knowing look, acknowledging a conversation that you are both eavesdropping on together. You say, "They must be on their first date." You and your friend giggle together. The table on the other side of you is a family, a mom and dad with 2 kids. You notice that everyone at their table is quiet, waiting for their food. The kids are zoning out, the parents are sitting next to each other without touching, and there aren't any smiles. You can feel an awkward, maybe even negative vibe. You imagine there was conflict at home before coming out for dinner, or maybe the family dynamic is not a healthy one. What is it about the people and dynamics around you that allows you to guess what's going on at their table? Yes, body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. But maybe there's also a factor that isn't always visible to the human eye, but felt instead. And that's human energy. You can feel a tension in the air. Or maybe you can feel an inviting sense of joy. Same thing goes for when you meet someone for the first time. You might exchange a few words and shake hands, or sometimes even hug. Our first impressions of people definitely have to do with body language, but I have to believe there's also an unseen energy involved. Human bodies, and actually all objects, emit electromagnetic radiation. This radiation is produced by heat. The amount of energy radiating off an object depends on its surface area, characteristics, and surface temperature. And the part of the human body that creates the most potent Whoa. The part of the human body that creates the most potent electromagnetic energy is the heart. The heart produces the largest, oh my God, this is like hard to talk without messing up, but I got this. The heart produces the largest electromagnetic field of all the organs in our body, and this energy field extends out in all directions in the space around our bodies. According to the Biophysics of Energetic Communication by the Heart Math Institute, low-frequency waves generated by the heart and body in the form of neural, hormonal, and electrical patterns are the carriers of emotional information, and higher frequency waves that can be seen on an EEG, which measures electrical activity in the brain, reflect the conscious perception and labeling of feelings and emotions. This means that people around us can detect emotional information from the electromagnetic field we emit into the surrounding environment. All right, now that we have some nerdy stuff out of the way, some sciencey stuff, the heart-powered energy field that extends from our bodies could be considered our aura, or our invisible spiritual energy field. The concept of the human aura became more widespread in the early 1900s when former priest Charles Webster Leadbeater began to study theosophy. Wait, maybe I should look up how to say that. Maybe I should look up how to pronounce that before I offend someone. Okay, let's see. Okay, I was right. I pronounced it right. The concept of human auras became more widespread in the early 1900s when former priest Charles Webster Leadbeater began to study theosophy and how clairvoyant powers interact with scientific investigations. In 1910, he released his book titled The Inner Life, in which he connected the modern concept of auras with the tantric concept of chakras. Leadbeater's ideas were then adopted by multiple other notable theosophists, such as Rudolf Steiner, Edgar Cayce, and Christopher Hills. While having roots in Hinduism and esotericism, the concept of auras became more intertwined with New Age ideas in the 1990s. Throughout the decades, there have been attempts to capture the human aura in photography, but time and time again, there seems to be a scientific explanation for auras that are captured in photos, having to do with electricity and moisture, creating what is deemed an aura. Although auras are widely talked about and validated by spiritual practices, scientists believe that the ability to read or see auras does not truly exist. So what do you guys think? I don't know, but I love learning about it and thinking about it because I definitely can feel other people's energy. Next, we're going to talk about the supposed 7 layers or planes of an aura. And these are the 7 planes that most theosophists agree on, apparently. First is the physical plane, which is nearest to our bodies, and it shows our current physical well-being. Next is our emotional plane, which is tied to emotions, obviously, and it can change colors depending on our emotional well-being. Next is the mental plane, which is affected by conscious thoughts and intentional actions. Then we have the astral plane, which corresponds to spiritual health and the capacity to feel love. Then we have the etheric plane, which shows how connected you are with the energy around you. We also have the celestial plane, which corresponds with subconscious intuition and where our consciousness stores dreams. And then the last plane, the causal plane, is the layer that brings all the other layers together. Ta-da! Those are the 7 layers. I'm also going to briefly overview some of the most well-known aura colors. And I'm sure there are different clairvoyants or spiritual people that may have different opinions about which colors mean which things. And I know there also can be sometimes health issues associated with certain colors, but we're just going to go over the basics. And this is a summary of some key words from multiple sources about the different aura colors. Oh my God, it's only been 11 minutes. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention. Aura colors can be relative to our chakras, according to some sources. So I'm also going to mention the chakra that it corresponds with, and then also what that chakra is in charge of. So we'll go a little bit in depth with the chakras too. So red auras signify stability, leadership, and initiative. And the root chakra is associated with red. The root chakra deals with the adrenal glands, which are responsible for fight or flight and also groundedness. Next aura color is orange, kind of going in rainbow order. Orange auras can signify creativity, being social, warm, and expressive, and the sacral chakra is associated with orange. And the sacral chakra deals with the reproductive glands, the inner child, and our emotional health. Next, we have yellow. Some of the characteristics associated with yellow auras are curiosity, optimism, and learning. The solar plexus chakra is the chakra that corresponds to yellow, and the solar plexus deals with the pancreas and also the ego. Then we have green auras and pink auras. I was seeing that green and pink have very similar characteristics, and so I just compiled them into one list. Some themes associated with green or pink auras are compassion, kindness, loving yourself and others, and healing. And these colors, green or pink, go along with the heart chakra, which deals with the thymus gland, love, and also group consciousness, or kind of our collective consciousness or the awareness that we're all connected. Next aura color is blue. The things associated with a blue aura are intuition, empathy, communication, truth, and sincerity. The chakra that goes along with blue is the throat chakra, which deals with the thyroid gland. Next, we have purple/violet auras. People who have a purple or violet aura tend to be highly intuitive, in touch with the third eye, spiritually wise, and reflective. Purple corresponds to the third eye chakra, which deals with the pituitary body and endocrine system and is also associated with intuition. I can't wait to see how many times I said associated with. Okay, that was purple. Next, we have a very special aura color, which is white. I believe white is one of the more rare auras, and a white aura can signify deep spiritual understanding, or people that understand the concepts of unity and wholeness as humanity altogether and how we are connected and can affect each other and work together. One love, you know what I'm saying? One love, that kind of vibe. And the chakra that goes along with a white aura is the crown chakra, which deals with the pineal gland. And it's the chakra that pours into all the other chakras, the daddy chakra, if you will, or the mommy chakra, you know? The last aura we'll talk about is black or maybe gray. This kind of aura can mean there's an energy block or some negative thoughts and emotions going on, which we've all been there. We've all been there. From a lot of stories I've seen or read, people who claim to be able to read auras seem to be born with the gift, or they can see the spiritual realm from a young age. And I've even heard stories of a perceived aura predicting the health problems of a person, or predicting maybe their fate even. That's a basic overview of auras. And I thought it would be interesting to look up some stories on public forums, which I love to do. So I have some entries from Reddit and from Quora. And those threads that I got these stories from will be linked in the show notes, along with all the other sources if you're interested in auras and aura reading. There are also places where you can get aura photography done, but I don't know how real that is, especially since it hasn't really been able to be scientifically proven. But look up aura photography near you. See if you can get an aura photo and send it to me. Email it to me, please. I would love to see it. What auras do my listeners have? So first, I'm going to read some stories from an aura Reddit thread. It's a thread, Have You Experienced Auras? And we have a user, saved_by_Pavlov's_dog. 3 years ago, writes, a friend says she sees auras. She says they're mostly one color all the time, unique to the individual. She says guys' auras are more fiery. She can't see her own. She can see them on animals and trees, but not insects. Trees are her favorite, and the ground being the brightest around it. She also says she can see them in the dark and has freaked people out by calling them out in a completely dark room. People with trauma look like they have dark cracks in them, and if they're having something like a bad day, there's little dark flecks or spots that can be shooed away. People's auras interact with other auras even if the people are not interacting. It would be interesting to find someone else who can see them and compare what they see. So a few things I thought that were interesting about this post were, number one, the concept of seeing auras in a dark room. I think that really, really would be a telltale sign that, yes, you can see an aura, would be if you can see it in a dark room. I could see how her friends would be freaked out if she could pinpoint where they were in the room based on their aura. And it also just goes to show how powerful our energy is coming from that beating heart. The other thing that stood out to me was the part about our auras interacting with other people's auras, even if we're not aware of it or we're not actually talking to them or interacting with them, because our energy really can affect the people around us even if we don't talk. Like if I'm in the vicinity of other people, it's like feeling a certain vibe. I guess what I'm saying is try to have a positive aura around you, because your aura does hit other people's auras and does interact with other people's auras, and you can leave an impact on someone with your aura. And I think that's pretty cool, but it also could be negative, could go either way. Last point that I thought was cool was that there are dark cracks in an aura of people with trauma, which makes sense. And then in a lesser way than dark cracks, we can have dark flecks that can be shooed away in our aura if we're having like a bad day, an off day, a sad day. So I loved that unique description. I've never seen anyone else say that before with the cracks or the dark flecks, and I find that very fascinating. The next one I'm going to read is written by A Stream of Particles, and it was 3 years ago. This person says, I can see auras whenever I want to, but I don't see them in the way anyone else describes it. I do see white auras, but if I look closely, the auras are a mix of blue, white, pink, and gold, like a rainbow, but the colors are intermixed and changing. I actually discovered them at 18 when I read a description of how to see auras. I've also never seen a good or bad aura. Everyone has one, and they don't give me any warning about the intentions or ethics of the person. I can see them around people and anything alive, especially trees. The last person said that too, about the trees. I've also meditated daily, 1.5 to 2 hours a day for about 20 years, and that has had zero effect on how I see auras. I have also done many meditation retreats, 2 or 3 a year. I should also mention I'm a Buddhist and don't believe in any of the New Age movements that talk about or discuss auras. Buddhism has no mention of auras. The fact that I can see them has no relationship to my belief system or ideas about reality. I really have no idea why I see them. They don't provide any information about the person other than they're made of an aliveness and that everything else that's alive is. It's definitely clear that everything is made from the same quote-unquote stuff. And that is the end of their entry. It stood out to me, like I said, that trees seem to have a lot of energy, which makes sense. A lot of trees are very old and they're growing. They absorb sunlight. So I could see how they would have a lot of energy. I always feel amazing when I'm around trees. I love me a forest. But a few things that stood out to me here were that this person can't differentiate between good and bad auras, and that there's actually a mixture of colors in each living thing's aura. So maybe this person can see the energy, basically like this is alive or it's not alive type of thing. So just kind of a different way of seeing auras. Seems like there is some uniqueness to this. And then they have done a lot of meditation, but it has not affected how they see auras, which makes me think that it's more of something that you're born with. Although there are also instructions on how to read auras, but I'm not sure if it's something you can really hone in and make yourself have the ability to do, or if you're really just born with it. Because it seems like people who aren't even spiritual or know nothing about the spiritual world sometimes are the ones that see auras, and then they're like, wait a second, what's going on here? They weren't trying to see them, but they just happened to see them. Okay, next entry. This is from Glonky, Indiana land, and it was 3 years ago. It says, the one time I saw something with my eyes was around 6 days before someone died. I was standing within 4 feet of her. We didn't speak, just smiled. She was with another person I was friends with that I was talking to. It was almost like I couldn't see her face. I knew what she looked like. She was an acquaintance, but in this moment, it was as though someone took a huge, low opacity black brush and painted all over her. I should draw it sometime. I remember in the moment being confused and somewhat uneasy, but I just brushed it off as being tired. She passed away in a car accident several days later. And that is the end of that entry. The main takeaway of this one is that this is a premonition of someone's death. That one is wild to me. Very, very scary. I would be terrified if I felt like I had the ability to see when other people were going to die. But wow. I just can't imagine knowing that information and looking back and realizing I just talked to them a few days ago and I knew something was off and it was weird and then they just died. That's very, very sad. Very sad, but appreciate this entry. Next, we're going to talk about some answers to Quora threads. And the question on this thread is, if you can see people's auras, can you describe a time when you saw something dark that frightened you? This entry is by T.A. Sullivan. It says that they are an award-winning author and intuitive author. The entry says, this occurred when I was young, naive, and terribly inexperienced. It was Friday and I was in school, and as always, I was aware of the noise and the colors of the auras from everyone in the hallway around me. But then a boy walked by and there was a dark gray, almost black layer to his aura. It frightened me, but at the time I was unsure what it meant. I knew the boy's name and had seen him around school a number of times, but we didn't share any classes or anything. I started to follow him as I tried to probe at the grayness surrounding him. However, when I touched it with my own aura, it was cold and very negative. It was like touching a cold flame. I withdrew my energy tendril and let him continue on to his class while I turned back to get to mine. Monday, there was a lot of whispering in the hallways and sad faces, but I didn't find out anything until first period. Then my teacher announced that the boy I had seen with the dark aura had died. I found out later that he had killed himself with his father's shotgun. That's when I understood that the icy, dark aura layers were a combination of his mental, dark thoughts and emotional layers. And if I had taken the time and effort to actually listen to that darkness, I might have understood what was happening and gotten someone to help him. But I didn't know then what I do now, and I didn't understand what I do now. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to learn how to help others. And that is the end of this person's entry. What a heartbreaking entry. This was again kind of a premonition of death. I thought the concept of touching someone's aura with your own aura was fascinating. Like you can imagine your aura and imagine a tendril reaching out and touching someone else's aura. So try that out next time you're out and about. Try that out and see what happens. And then the other thing that stood out was the guilt that this person had for not knowing what was coming and not doing something about it, even though they knew something was wrong. But of course, this person didn't know and could never predict that that was going to happen, couldn't read this classmate's mind. And this is just a tragedy. So very sad. And like I said earlier, I think it would be a very hard, quote unquote, skill to have to see when someone around you is going to die. Like that feels scary. It feels like, what do you do with this information if you know what it means? My heart goes out to that kid and that family and also this person. You shouldn't feel guilty. Next one we're going to read is another Quora question or a Quora thread. And the question is, do people have an aura that others can feel? So this poster, his name is Brian Rainey. It says that he is an educator in energy-based martial arts and healing arts. And he responds to this question. He says, yes, in fact, it is easier to feel someone's aura than it is to view it. Your aura is an extension of your energy. It reflects how you are doing in general and tends to fluctuate throughout the day. Coming into contact with someone's aura can reveal a lot about them if you choose to study this. But for the most part, people use it as somewhat of a sensor net to keep us from bumping into each other or objects around us. Ever stand in a line and have someone come up and stand too close to you? You feel invaded, right? Yes, it is their aura coming into contact with you and without your permission. In martial arts, we actually practice managing our aura. We learn how to shrink it in so it is so close to our skin, no one can feel us coming. We also learn how to expand it out to keep people at a distance. Fun example we used to do before social distancing. Go to a crowded environment like a shopping mall and walk through the crowds and notice how you have to adjust to work your way through them. Then turn around, ground or connect with the earth. Imagine yourself much bigger to push out your aura and walk back through the crowds. You will notice people gently moving to get out of your way. They won't even realize they're doing it. We also used to do a lot of sparring blindfolded. If your opponent doesn't manage their energy well, you can get a sense of where they are and your strikes tend to hit well. If they shrink in their aura and dim it down, you just can't find them. Have fun. And that's the end of his entry. I loved this one. This one was so cool. I had no idea that martial arts used this concept of auras and energy, and that really makes sense. I think that's really interesting. Some key points I got from this were our aura fluctuating throughout the day, which makes sense because it's nearly impossible to stay in the same exact mood or energy level throughout the whole day, whether it be emotional or physical exhaustion or being tired. And then I liked the concept of being able to feel someone's aura rather than seeing it and the mention of personal space and how we can feel that someone is in our personal space even if we're not looking at them. It's almost like you can feel someone like walking up behind you, or not that you can hear them, but you can feel someone close by, or you're in a crowd and you just know that someone's behind you. I can resonate with that, with feeling someone be in your personal space or maybe in your aura without permission. This made me think of this time when I lived in Washington, living alone. It's a creepy place. I love it, but it is a creepy place. I will say. I was at the grocery store by myself and I was in like the produce section, and I noticed this guy, this older guy, maybe in his 60s, that kept on suddenly being in my personal space very close to me. Like I would go to one section of the produce, I would be like looking at something or looking for something, and I would notice him in my space, and I thought it was a little bit weird how close he was to me, because there's typically like a socially appropriate distance to stay away from people in public or in a grocery store. And I just felt a little bit weird, like, why are you like, get out of my bubble, dude. You have room. And then I would move to another area of the produce section. I would be distracted. I wasn't thinking too much of it. And then I would notice him again in the same area or kind of in my bubble. And I would move to another part and I would notice him again. I think this happened 2 or 3 times. And I noticed that he wasn't grabbing anything. And I don't think he had a basket. So then I saw him like go over to the little stands where they have the gum and little trinkets you can get by the checkout area. And he grabbed a newspaper and he was kind of just looking at the newspaper, not shopping around. It was very weird. And I felt a weird vibe about him. And I was kind of keeping my eye on him because I was like, what the heck? Like, why does this dude keep coming in my bubble? Why is he invading my aura? And then I took my cart, I go to checkout, and I see him see me go to checkout or see me walking to checkout. I look behind me and he's watching me. And as I'm checking out, I see him go over to the self-checkout. And he bought like something small, like a piece of gum, something minor. It took me a longer time to get my stuff checked out. So he bought his stuff and he walked away. And I was like, what a weird experience. I also remember when I looked at him in the eyes in the grocery store. So he knew that I knew that he was around me. And then he had gone out of the store before me. As I was walking to my car, there was a car parked very near the front of the grocery store, and front driver's side window was down. And I'm passing and I look and it's the same guy. He's sitting there in the driver's seat with his window down. And I just stared him dead in the eyes as I was walking, looked him straight in the eyes. I was trying to convey the message to him. Don't fuck with me. Like, you can't touch me. Don't talk to me. Get out of my area. I just felt really, really weird about it. I almost felt like he was following me around. I don't know. I was even nervous when I got into my car that he was going to watch the car I got into and start following my car, but he did not. And that was the end of that. But this story with personal space and auras and noticing someone else in your bubble reminded me of that. And then also him just having a weird, sketchy vibe, and he was alone and all that stuff. So yeah, I do like the idea also of practicing making your aura bigger and smaller. And this guy is saying you can practice this in a crowded space and see if the people around you react. See if people get out of your way if you try to expand your aura. See if people don't notice you and do not get out of your way if you try to keep your energy close to you. I think also body language can do this too, but I might try it. I might try it sometime when I'm walking through a crowded space and I don't want to always be the one to have to move. Or maybe I should try to have a bigger aura to protect myself from negativity at work or other places. I don't know. Okay, I've been recording for about 45 minutes. Still have to edit it down. That is all that I have regarding auras and human energy, just kind of the basics and a few stories. Like I always say, if you have any interesting personal stories or you want to share something or you want to educate me on something, send me an email at spiritstatic@gmail.com or comment on my TikToks, comment on the podcast, Spotify comments. Also, if you like the podcast, give it a rate for me. That would be amazing. Before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on something from the last episode, which was about the Delta King Hotel. I posted a video on TikTok promoting my Delta King Hotel episode, and someone left an interesting comment, and I wanted to share it before we go. If you haven't listened to the episode about the haunted Delta King Hotel, go listen to that. But this man commented on my TikTok about it. Let me pull it up. This user, Potrio Michoacano, the comment is in Spanish, but I translated it, commented on my video. I used to work on that ship from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. And one night I saw the captain of the ship coming out of the elevator on the ground floor. I was stunned because I'd seen the photo they have up in his cabin. He walked around the elevator and disappeared. I looked for him, but I couldn't find him. This happened in 91. So I thought that was a cool little story to share from someone who worked on or around the boat. Thanks for commenting on that. Thanks for allowing me to share it with the listeners. Give me more stories like this, guys. More things I can read for everyone to hear and us all to think about and be creeped out about. If anyone has something they want me to cover or a story they want me to discuss, let me know. I think this is where we're going to wrap up tonight. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have a great aura this week. I'm sending you good vibes. All right. Thanks for listening. Good night, everyone. Talk to you next time. This podcast is sponsored by me.